Hello there, welcome to another episode on common errors in English. And we've been having a good time so far. I hope you have. Well, let's move on to other errors in English. My name is Jesse Josh. All right, today we're going to be looking at the difference between, or which is correct between let alone and talk less of. I know the general one is talk less of, yeah. But let's look at the difference. So we have a sentence like, there isn't enough room for us, talk less of any guest. And we have another sentence, there isn't enough room for us, let alone any guest. Let alone and talk less of are used after a statement to emphasize that because the first thing is not true or possible, the other cannot be true or possible, right? So because of one thing, because of the impossibility of one thing, right, the other one cannot be possible, or the other one is impossible. That's what they used to. They are used to refer to. That's what people mean when they use let alone or talk less of. However, talk less of is not English, or is not accepted in the English world. It's just something people coined for their own use, right? So the right phrase is, there is not enough room for us, let alone any guest. I think the word talk less of is, a Nigerian thing. Actually, that word is different. If you use it in a different sentence, in a different statement, it will make much meaning. So you say you don't talk less of someone. Now that's different. But when you're using it to mean because of something you can't do something, that it doesn't work. It is very, very ungrammatical as regards English. Okay, so you would rather have to use let alone, right, instead of talk less of. Talk less of can be used when you're saying you are talking less of somebody, right? But not to talk of an exception that because of something you can't do something. Okay, so you rather say we can't do this, we can't pay for this, let alone this, right? We can't pay for the venue, let alone the MC. Okay. All right. The next one we're going to be looking at is lap or sit on somebody's lap. Okay, so this is a Nigerian thing. So you're probably struggling for a bus, or you and your friend or your younger brother or anybody, you bought a bus together, and just to save the cost of T-fare, of paying for two, you guys say lap, let me lap you, or you have to lap me. Let's look at this sentence. There's only one seat, so you have to lap me. Or you'd rather say there's only one seat. You'd have to sit on my lap. Okay, so lapping me and sitting on my lap. Right, now which of them is correct? Let's see. When you lap somebody, you pass him or her on a track, basically. The word lap is from, track events, race and track events, right? So when they are running, when you say you lap somebody, people don't even know that it's actually correct. They use it on a daily basis, but they don't know that it's the actual phrase for that. When you lap somebody, you pass him or her, or you overtake him or her on a track event, right? Of course, this track event should have more than one or more laps. So you could say something like, she had already lapped most of the other runners, or most of our other opponents, right? But when it comes to having somebody sit on your legs, you don't say lap me, you say let me sit, or you have to sit on my laps, right? Or sit on my lap, all right? So that's it. It's not lap me. You have to sit, or you sit on somebody's lap. You don't lap them, or you don't let them lap you, okay? So it will mean an entirely different thing if you say I want you to lap me. All right. Large, wide, or broad. Sorry. Do you say large? Do you say wide? Or do you say broad? Now, let's look at it. Of course, they are all correct words, and but they don't mean the same thing, right? I think that's one of the general things we'll be looking at in common errors in English. We're looking at words that we use as synonyms to other words, not knowing that they don't apply, or they cannot apply in such sentences. So let's look at large, Do we say large? Do we say wide or broad? Now, the pitch is large enough for the competition, or the pitch is wide enough for the competition. Now, let's look at it. Which of them is correct? Wide or broad is used when you are talking about the distance from one side to another. When you talk about wide, you are saying from this side to another. You are looking at the distance from one side to another. But when you talk about large, you are talking about size, basically. Size. So the correct statement to use here, because you're looking at a pitch. So in pitch, you don't measure size, you measure distance, right? So you are looking at the distance between this side to this side. So you say the pitch is wide or broad enough for the competition. Okay, so wide or broad is accepted, but large, you have to be very, very careful when you use large, because it talks about size, not distance too. But when you use wide or broad, you're talking about the distance from one point to another. All right, so the next one we're looking at today is let's, L-E-T-S, and let's, let's, L-E-T-S, and let's, right? Now let's look at let's go to church without an apostrophe S. Let's go to church. And then we have let's with an apostrophe S, go to church. Let's go to the church. Now let's, L-E-T apostrophe S, means let us. Is a contracted form of let us. So you have let's, the U is removed, and then you have an apostrophe, right? So when the word you want means allows or permits. So when you want to permit somebody, or you want to allow somebody do something, you say let's, or the plural version of let's, or the singular version of let's. So you don't use apostrophe. So you say my mom lets me do the house chores, or my mom lets me cook, right? If my mom lets me, I can eat chocolate all day long. So letting, L-E-T apostrophe S, is used to allow or permit somebody, but L-E-T with an apostrophe S is the contracted form of let us. So you say let us go to church, right? Or if you're not going to use let in such a statement, you have something like my mom lets us go to my friend's church. All right, so in this sentence, let's go to the church with an apostrophe S is the correct one to use. All right, the next one we're going to use is another very, very common one, right? Some of them sound professional, right? And it's because of this same professionalism that we are mixing them up, or, using the wrong one for the right one, using the right one for the wrong one, right? So let's look at it. You visit a website, the website, enter your ID and password, or you log on to the website, you enter your ID and password. Which of them is correct? Anytime you use the word visit, it means that there is no requirement for an ID or a password. Visit does not require, when you use the word visit, in English, it doesn't mean, it's not used as regards somewhere you have to, that you require a password or an ID to enter into, right? But when you use log on to, now that requires that, okay, there is probably a security check where you have to input your ID and your password. So the right thing is log on to. So when you're talking about websites that require you to log into, to put in your ID or to put in your password, then you should use the word or the phrase log on to, right? When you log on to the website, enter your ID and password is correct. Now this one we're going to talk about is not about the words, it's about how we use them, right? The two words are both correct, and they're used in different situations. Now, it's about the word live and life. Live and life. You get the idea of the difference between, or the difference we're trying to strike out when we use them in sentences. So let's look at this. We saw a real life rattlesnake. Or we saw a live we saw a real live rattlesnake. Now, people would think that the way to go is the real life rattlesnake, but actually it is the real live rattlesnake, not L-I-F-E, but L-I-V-E. Now, live means not dead, while life means the state of being alive. as a human being or as an entity, right? So it cannot be, we saw a real life rattlesnake, because life is the state of being alive, right? And in that, it cannot be, is a noun. Life there is a noun. So we cannot use it to qualify, because the idea is to qualify if the rattlesnake is alive or dead. So the word will be live to show that something is not dead. But life is a noun, which means the state of being alive. So you don't say a real life rattlesnake, you say a real live rattlesnake. Because, okay, let's look at this example. The flood caused a massive loss of life. Now that's a better example if you're going to use life, right? Because life is taking, that life there is a what? Is a noun, right? But in this statement, we saw the presidents. People will say real life. We saw him real life, right? No, we saw a real live president or a real live rattlesnake, okay? The next one we're going to be talking about is moral or morale. Moral or morale. So one has an E and the other does not. One has an E and the other does not. So let's look at both of them. Of course, both of them are separate words, both correct, but mean different things. The one with an E means something different from the one with an without an E. So let's look at it. Morale without an E among the players is very high at the moment. And then we have morale with an E among the players is very high at the moment. Now, the first one is a lesson. Usually, religious, right? Religious lesson or something they teach you, a lesson to be taught, right? The other one is the level, the amount of confidence or enthusiasm that a person or a group has at a particular time. That is called morale. M-O-R-A-L-E. That's a morale, right? But a lesson to be taught or that has been taught is a moral, right? It's a moral. It's a moral, right? So the correct thing is morale with an E when you're referring to confidence level or excitement level or enthusiasm level of a particular person or a group at a particular time, right? That's morale. So in this sentence, it's morale amongst the players is very high at the moment. All right, the next one we're going to be looking at is one which is the difference between people use a lot, right? They'll say they ate. Okay, let's look at the sentence. The governor ate a lot of money during his administration. Money cannot be eaten, first of all. It's not an edible entity. It's not something you put into your mouth. Even though we all get the concept of when you see somebody eats money, right? But it is not an edible. It's not an edible thing. You don't eat money, right? Now, in this case of probably a politician or a governor, we are trying to say that he took a lot of money, he made away with a lot of money or embezzled. Now, the rights, I wouldn't even have given you other words to use. Let's use something that's good. So we'll say the governor misappropriated or embezzled a lot of money during his examination. To misappropriate means to take somebody else's money for yourself. To take something that does not belong to you means to misappropriate, right? So that's the right thing to you, because that's the idea we're trying to pass when we say the governor ate a lot of money during his administration, right? So that's wrong. That's an entirely wrong sentence, because the word ate or the word eat, which is past tense ate, is not possible as regards money. You misappropriate a lot of money or misappropriate funds during your administration or something. Okay, so that is that about that. Now, the next one we're going to be looking at is many or much. Many or much. Of course, separate words, separate meanings, and used in different situations and circumstances. Now, let's look at this. They have much houses. They have many houses. Now, one thing you have to understand is that much is used with singular nouns that have no plural. So any noun that you can find that does not have a plural, the best thing to use there is much, right? You can use much with sugar. You can use it with bread. You can use it with water. So I said, I need much water, right? You don't say, I need many water. I need much sugar in my tea, right? However, many is used for nouns, plural nouns that have plurals, right? They have definite plurals like pens, books, rulers, girls, men, etc. So many is for nouns that have plural forms, while much is for nouns that do not have plural form. They are used with singular nouns that have no plural. So we have many books, many men, many rulers, many women, right? But you have much sugar, much water, much bread, okay, much equipment, okay. So that is that about much and many. Okay, the next one we're going to be looking at is made of or made from. Now, these two statements or these two phrases mean entirely different things. They can be both correct in different sentences, right? But mixing them up or mixing their meanings is what we are trying to avoid in this sentence. Okay, all right. Now, both of them, both made of and made from, almost mean the same thing. It's just that there's a slight difference between them. When you say made from, you are saying that something is made out of something that you cannot see, right? You can't see it. So if you say this house is made from so and so something, you are saying that this thing is made of something that we cannot see, especially presently. But if you say made of, you use made of when the material with which something is made is seen. So you say you have something like doors are sometimes made of wood, right? You can see wood, right? They are made of wood. So made from is usually when the thing which is made is out of something that cannot be seen, while made from is you cannot see it. Made of is made of something that you can see. You can see. The next one we're going to be looking at is matured and mature. Matured and mature. All right? Now, let's look at these sentences. The girl is not matured enough to get married. And the girl is not mature enough to get married. When you're referring to people, the right word is mature. And it cannot be used as an adjective. You cannot be used as an adjective and be joined with an ed. It cannot be used as an adjective and be joined with an ed. You have mature, right? Not matured. But when you're talking about wine or cheese, or when you're talking about plants or trees, now you can now say the trees have matured. But when you talk about human beings, right, getting to the position where they can actually do something, you say she is mature, not she's matured, right? So basically, mature is for people and let's say animate things, right? While matured is for things like, or they are for things like, plants, right? Food, right? So you say the wine is matured, but you say he or she is mature enough to get married. Now, both of them are actually verbs, right? One is in the past tense form and one is in the past participle, but you cannot use matured for a human being. All right? All right. So that is that. Let's look at many and much. Many and much in this sentence. We already treated it in the previous class, but let's look at it here. The oil is too many in the engine. And the oil is too much in the engine. And let's look at another group of sentences. There are too much mistakes in this essay, and there are too many mistakes in this sentence. Now, the point about much and many is that one of them is used for singular nouns that do not have plurals, and the other one is used for basically nouns that are plural in themselves already. So you cannot have much pens. You have many pens because pen has a singular form. So you have 1 pen, 2 pens, 3 pens. So you can say many pens. You can say many books, but you can't say much books. But you can say much water, right? You can say much gas. Except you are now even putting it in a collective noun. So you are now saying something like many bottles of gas or many bottles of water, that's an entirely different issue. But as long as it's a noun that does not have a plural, you have to use much. And if you have a noun that has plurals, that can have plurals, especially by adding s, you have many. So you have many pens, many books, many dogs, many men, many women, blah 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 blah. And then for much you have much, much bread, much water, much gas. Basically, if you notice, there are basically things that you can't count as single entities. All right. So the next one we're going to be looking at is make up and makeover. Now, this is for the ladies. Okay. All right. Let's have. She never wanted a makeover, and she never wanted a make-up. Okay. Now, it wasn't so long that I understood the difference myself. But basically, makeover is a makeover. Now, makeover is a total change of not just your face, but it includes your hair, your eyelashes, your clothes, your bags, your accessories, everything. That's a makeover, right? But a makeup is strictly to your face. So if you want a makeup, you are telling whoever is making you up that you want your facial quality to be improved, right? But a makeover is basically everything that has to do with you. So you are probably talking about accessories, you're probably talking about your hair, you're talking about your dress, your bag, right? So that's it. So it's not that makeover and makeup are wrong, but they're just used in totally different situations and circumstances. All right. So that will be the end of today's class. And in the coming classes, we're going to treat more errors in English. I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.